Hello, hello.
How we
Another
doing,
game, another
boys? How we
win.
doing?
Another win in the books. Another win in the books. Let's go, guys. So how we feeling today?
Yeah, bro, I'm
Mhm.
calm. I look. I think we have a lot to discuss because I just feel like narrative went through on this game because I had a rewatch. I think I had a little bit of maybe like a bird's eye view perspective on it because I only caught like 10 minutes of the first half. I was away in the first half for most of it, and then I just kind of watched the second half mainly, and then I had to rewatch. But I don't know. I was kind of mad about the reviews I was seeing online because there was people disappointed with the performance, and I just don't understand it. So lots to break down. I think there's some players, surprise players, that had a very good game that people are saying had a bad game, but just need to hold on a second, rewatch the game because a lot of really good performances. Another one that was like the Watford in a sense of sustaining pressure. I think we got to have a talk about how awesome we are at claiming second balls. I think it's one of the best things that we've been able to do this season. Like if you start to look at not just the subs, right? So when you look at when our starting 11 haven't been there, the Tavares, the Lacunga, like their impact on the team is excellent. But the big thing that no one's talking about is their ability to win second balls in the middle third, man. Like that is the difference this season, that we haven't lost some of these games that, we should be winning. Last season we lost against Wolves, Burnley, with inopportune starting 11s. But the biggest reason is because we're just controlling second balls in the middle third. So if you just start to add a little bit of technique on the ball, we're going to start seeing a lot more 3-4 nils and that attacking performance that, a lot of people will definitely have questions about. But hopefully we can break down kind of why we were a little bit, clunky in attack. But, off the ball, we were just immense again.
I mean, for me, it's just why is like wins. I'm not talking about draws. I'm not talking about losses. Wins are creating weird narratives. Forget the actual poor results. It's the wins that are creating narratives because apparently it's only Newcastle or only Watford, etc. And people aren't watching the games. I feel people are living in the moment, which is great. I love fans. I love them actually being pumped about supporting the players on the pitch, and that's great. But people are losing the actual what the hell is actually going on the pitch. I feel a lot of the time, like it's very telling because I mean we talked about this before. The fact that it's that people are saying Partey had a terrible game. He was fine. I don't think he was like it isn't wasn't this isn't
No,
Old
I push
Trafford like
back on that. I'm sorry, Karen. Sorry to cut you
it's
off because I
yeah
heard a lot of crap on the timeline that he was really, really poor. We're going to have a discussion about Thomas Partey because he was excellent in this game. Despite I think a few passes that were misplaced, which marred everyone's opinion on him, and the fact that Lacunga had his best individual performance doesn't mean that his partner had a poor performance. I think people need to go back and watch that second half because a huge reason that we sustained pressure was Thomas Partey. He consistently got the ball back and was firing balls in between the lines. In the first 5 minutes of the rewatch, by the way, there's a period where he fires out to Saka. I think it was in your vlog, Chris. From the left half space, and he clears like every single line of defense and midfield for Newcastle, and Saka just couldn't control the ball. It was just a little bit overhit. That ends up being controlled by Saka, and we score. People are saying that Partey has a 10 out of 10. I'm convinced, and it's just very weird narrative. I think the biggest thing on Thomas, because we'll definitely have a section on him. I saw a lot of great things actually on the ball from his punchiness in releasing the ball in midfield, where I think we're seeing him slowly coming back to his fit form, and something I don't think he had, even if Liverpool came a little bit early, and even some of the other previous cameos, he's looked a little off. But you know what? This game, I saw a return to a lot of technical things with Thomas that kind of are good for us as Arsenal fans. But we'll break it down. I find it ridiculous that people said that he was poor. I don't really know what game you're watching.
I mean I want to talk about that first half. Let's get into this. Let's break down the actual game. The first half, people
Should we
I
do
feel
lineup
like
first before we half
yeah,
break
lineup.
down?
We can do lineups
Yeah.
first. I mean, we I think we all said well, I'm pretty sure we said we wanted Tierney back and was Ainsley, and Lokonga did very well this game as did Nuno, and I'm pleasantly surprised to be proved wrong about players. So very happy about both. What did you
Not
make of
so
the lineup?
First
Yeah, I
half,
don't know.
Nuno wasn't good. He was probably, apart from Oba, the worst on in the first half. And
I
Oba,
loved it, man. I know, I
Oba
know, I
edged
know, I know it's bad, but I
the
loved him
first half.
just going for it. I loved him just
No, I couldn't
going.
handle it. If you like, I even said it in my vlog. Like, I didn't say that I couldn't handle it, but I think it was very evident who I couldn't handle. Like I think he just kept doing it, like kicking it over the bar, over the bar. In the second half, he did respond very well, and it started straight away when he went past
I think Mikel
Kraft.
had words with him. I think
He went
Mikel had
past
words with him.
Kraft straight away, and he got the yellow card. So Kraft couldn't meet him as much, which helped him. He was involved in the goal. I think he was just a bit more like patient and calm in the second half rather
All
than
he
the
did,
first half.
mate, was
Trying to
literally told him
take it.
to calm it down, because you could tell it was a coaching instruction. Like, when he was just going, he doesn't have the football IQ to really make the decisions that he really needs to make in game. Like, when you look at him when he starts games, he just goes. He knows one gear. And, you saw signs of it from Burnley when he was subbed on and he freaking goes the entirety of the field and then just gives them back the ball and shooting on goal. Like, from that moment, I go, oh, okay, we've got a really issue here with his football
Tempo
IQ.
control,
Yeah, but he just does that. We've got a guy that just goes all cylinders. But at the same token, I also think he's kind of in the Walker mold, where he's going to be a fullback that can be a transition control monster. Like, people aren't going to get by him, if he has the mental ability to recognize when to go, because he's got some issues starting. I still maintain, I think people need to watch him, but he doesn't have that huge 5-yard burst. But if he gets going, it's very difficult. I don't know if there's
I think he looks
winger.
faster because I think to the eye
He's bigger.
He looks faster because when he gets going, he looks like completely unstoppable.
Yeah.
Whereas other players like even Oba, who's one of the fastest in the team, he just like slimmer and just has great technique. So it looks more like a sprinter, but he looks like a freight train when he gets going. But like in the first half, he wasn't good, and it just got annoying. But in the first half, we had like 80% possession to their 20, 12 shots to their 3. Like, we really dominated the first half. I really found it weird when I just saw on Twitter that a lot of people thought we played poorly. I felt like we had a couple of chances, like the Sambi played a great ball over the top. That was a bit far for Saka that he had to take first time on his right.
Partey in the first 5 minutes, that switch.
Yeah. Was it Tomiyasu, the shot from the edge of the box?
Odegaard that gets fouled in the center, and then he has a free kick as well. That was almost going in.
Emil header, then the Oba miss was crazy.
We left 3 goals itself in the first half on the pitch. Just factually. I mean, there was even a chance. Do you remember when Saka got released on the right-hand side and he dinks it in the middle? And I mean, they clear the lines quite well, but in the very first couple minutes,
we also had a half volley, a middle edge of the box from a Tomiyasu cross.
Yeah, bro, we left goals on the pitch in the first half. A last
ditch tackle when Saka
burst. It is a worry though, because we consistently leave goals on the pitch though. Like, it's not the first time we've left plenty of goals on the pitch, and
the bodes well now is for me. It's obviously a negative that we're inefficient, but like it's improved that we're creating so many more chances now that the inefficiency isn't costing us.
But mate, do you know why you're comfortable with that? Because we're winning so many second balls that it's not coming the other direction. Like, that's the reason that people are comfortable right now, because, people are saying, well, what are the chances created and how good are they? Well, yeah, we're efficient and we're clunky in attack, but the reason no one feels worried is because we regain pressure immediately and we're able to win the second balls. We're able to stay in the same zones again, and we can recycle and go again. Like, this is the absolute reason why we're back to becoming a flat track bully.
For me, there's a moment in the game that like shows what you're saying, where in like the 34th, 35th minute,
Ben
White does, like, he drives forward and he loses the ball, and then Newcastle get the ball straight away and lose it. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, say Maximan is going crazy. Like, how do we lose the ball? He's going to Eddie Howe shouting, how do we keep losing the ball when you get the back? And we nearly score. But if you just kept watching the bottom of the screen, say Maximan was getting completely frustrated that they couldn't keep the ball when they won it back. And it just showed that when you do that, because we saw it from our own players last season, if the other team keep winning the second balls back, it means that like pressing and trying to win the ball back in the first place is annoying to the players because you just know we're not going to keep it at all. So,
But mate, it reduces the distances. Like, I mean, every coach will tell you if you're able to win the ball back higher up the pitch, you reduce the distances that you have to run. Just from a counter press like perspective, period. You know, everyone's going to want an organized press. Like every team wants it, right? But the fact that we've got Gabriel and Ben White in particular, who for me was just tied with man of the match under Tomiyasu, by the way. You know, he was excellent in the first half, easily our best player in my opinion. And, you know, Tommy just edges it because over the 90, you know, he was just more consistent. But, you know, that's not really Ben's fault because Ben was critical for nipping in front and maintaining those second balls. Like the amount of times I just saw him hold that defensive line high. And, you know, Gabriel was great in the physical battle with Callum Wilson, which doesn't get stated enough.
And Ben White was, sorry to cut you off, but Ben White was touched out a lot with Joe Linton, who also was drifting over to the left because we had the ball a lot on our right-hand side. So whenever they won it, they were on their left more. So their players just naturally drifted towards. But yeah, Ben White was great in the first half and great in the draws.
No, yeah, and he was he was the reason that we were able to sustain pressure so much. Like, you know, when you're talking how we had 80% possession, I mean, Z, mate, like you got your want from the last couple of weeks in this game. We had a huge possession number to combine with the if chances. You know what I mean? And I think that isn't being talked about enough. Like the importance of, sure, we're inefficient in attack, but we'll get to that section because I think that deserves its own segment of this podcast. Why are we inefficient in attack? There's a couple things that we did that weren't great, but, you know, very easy fixes. But beyond that, the reason that that's not a worry is because, again, we claim the second balls. Our defensive line is excellent right now at making sure that we can knit play and making sure if our press isn't 100%, we're still camped in their half. And we've been doing this at the Emirates all season, guys. Like I'm not understanding this critique on Arsenal's run that A, we aren't flat track bullies, which you need to be top four, but also B, how this defensive line that despite some attacking inconsistencies has been absolutely elite at second balls and claiming the middle third pretty much all season, even in our difficult moments. In general, Arsenal have been very, very good at implementing these second balls. And, you know, the times that we haven't have been the Palace and Brighton. And that has come with a system change. And, you know, it's no coincidence, guys, that, you know, the increase in our second ball collection comes with a pivot of two players being close together. Like, it's no coincidence that happens. And, you know, I think this is what you get. Like when I talk about transition control and when I talk about sustaining pressure and I mention these things and why you get that with a pivot versus a lone pivot, you know, I think a lot of people question it, but, you know, you have this game and these games that we've had as proof. When you have two players close to each other in the middle of the park, it allows for you to have a better chance of getting those 1v1 isolation moments and winning them, especially if you don't have a midfield that's 100% athletically there, aka Lacazette. You know, if you don't have a partner that you're really confident in athletically to do that role, and he's not spamming volume passes, you know, we don't have a technician there. It's not like, even though Sambi had an excellent individual performance, his best in an Arsenal shirt, it wasn't like we were spamming 200, 300 pass volume to use this possession. A lot of it was second ball retention. And a lot of that was, Thomas Partey. Again, you know, I really think he went under the radar. But the one last maybe overview that I wanted to get, you know, maybe before we do lineups, because I think we haven't talked about that yet, is if you look back at our best performances in this game, Tomiyasu, for me, man of the match. Tavares, average first half, but excellent second half. Like really, really, really good. And then you go back to Lacazette. We mentioned it briefly. We'll talk about him, but the best individual performance he's had in an Arsenal shirt. What did all three of those boys have in common?
They were all awful against Liverpool.
Awful against Liverpool. And I keep telling people, you know, you learn more in the reaction to the bad moments than you do in the bad moments. And this young team that have an average age of 23 and change, they're going to be inconsistent. But if you're looking for data points about what happens when they can't reach the level, you have to look at their reaction. And factually, I find it amazing mentality-wise that, you know, these boys are able to have a really, really rough short term, but then respond so quick, you know, to teams that we should be beating. And that, for me, shows a lot about the potential of this team, because then you start to forecast, right, guys? Like, say you lose against a team that you shouldn't, which is going to happen, by the way. We're all going to predict a game when this team should absolutely win and then they lose or draw. There's going to be an unfavorable result, you know? And what gives me confidence is these moments that I think that not only think, I know they can respond. So I think that was just worth mentioning. I think the mentality from...
We spoke about after the Liverpool game that although the Liverpool game in the moment felt completely awful, like a 4-0 is awful, the next game after was always going to be more important because it decided the mentality, especially the young age, the way we conceded, like the involvement of certain players in the goals we conceded meant that the game after, and because Tavares did bounce back, and even in the game he didn't put his head down after conceded that goal, but for the players to completely dominate Newcastle, in my opinion, after like not having having probably a lot of them their worst performance in their career, especially in a big game like that everyone's watching, it just bodes well for the future because, as you said, we will lose a game where everyone expects you to win, or you will draw a game where you completely dominate, and the bounce back will always be more important because that bodes well or negative for the future.
So guys, welcome to Ball of a Passion, where we spend a lineup segment speaking not about the lineups at all. It's been great. So let's get into the actual lineup. So
wait, one thing, sorry, Kura, one thing, because there's a little bit of a narcissist in me here. We told everybody to expect a low block on the preview of the Newcastle pod. We went in detail about the two options that you're going to find potentially with Newcastle. And, shout out to our mate, too, that came on as well. And, we had a really good chat as well. So check our preview if you didn't, because we had a really special...
Eddie Howe.
Sorry?
Eddie Howe tried to press.
He tried to, which,
it didn't work.
Which we did predict. But,
was that howler of a decision?
Oh, God.
They couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. And, we did say that, Eddie Howe would come to sit in a low block, in terms of, 3 at the back, which is what he preferred against Brentford, just to increase their fluidity in attack, by the way, because that's what really their strength is. We said and we predicted that, Eddie Howe would come and sit at the Emirates, and shock horror, what did he do? Exactly that. And, when you're looking at kind of our performance, which we will talk about in lineups, I promise we'll get there. But, this is really important to understanding why that first 45 minutes maybe didn't have the narrative of what fans expected, but was very crucial to us winning the game. This idea that you don't tire out low blocks by constant pressure and sustained pressure, and then they don't collapse in the second half. Guys, this is what Wenger used to do all the time. People quote Pep, but no, Wenger had done it for almost a decade when he shouldn't do it.
You should quote Pep because he's at the top of the game now. So
you can quote him now for recency bias, but when you look at consistency of top 4 finishes, Wenger has shown you the mold. That was the blueprint for doing that with teams that you shouldn't do it with. And how did he achieve that? With sustained pressure, consistently, constant possession, camping out in teams that are outside the top 6 half, constantly creating chances, and eventually wearing people down. Because when you move the ball like that and people are constantly chasing shadows, which is what Eddie Howe was doing, that second half collapse, which is what happened for their goals. Like, a lot of it was actually quite poor. I mean, sure, credit to us on attacking, but mate, like, the defending is so poor. And you know why it's poor? Because you had them running the entirety of the first half trying to cover shadows. Like, that is a big reason tactically that I think a lot of people are just like, if you're not up by 3-0 at first half intervals from teams you should be winning against, we're like, bad team. It's ridiculous. It's stupid analysis for me, but we really need to probably get to the lineups because it's 20 minutes in and I waffle. So go on, Kern.
So the lineup. We started with Ramsdale, Tavares, Gabriel White, Tomiyasu as normal, and then with Lokonga and Partey, then Emile, Aubameyang, and Erdogan with Saka on the right. Where did you guys think that was good? Where did you guys think that was bad? For me personally, I liked how he showed faith in Tavares and Lokonga. I wouldn't have done it personally, but it shows how the mentality of the manager at this moment in time to trust his young players to really bed them in and make sure that they're doing well. In terms of Erdogan versus Lacazette, glad he came back in. We'll get into it. I don't think he had his best game at all. I was very, very disappointed in him because, as we've said repeatedly on the show, it should be a game that he would dominate because it's a low block and he'll have time on the ball to get his final killer ball into the final third to create more chances. I think he did poorly in that regard. In terms of the Aubameyang situation, we'll get into it. But Aubameyang, man, like I believe in Aubameyang, and
He deserves his own segment, Curran, for sure. He deserves his own segment.
It would be too little to just talk about him himself. But I do obviously he should have started. So take it away, people.
Yeah, mate. Like, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Well, for me, even though like I keep saying I want a team to start and maybe Ainsley, I think it's good that Mikel has instilled like a sort of next up mentality in the club where and it's good that he's like sort of protecting their players from themselves because he kept them in, and obviously Tavares didn't start well, but Tomiyasu was great and Lokonga was very good as well. He kept them in and like, showed them that he was not happy with them, but like some faith in them, which you need when you play as poorly as they did. And it does bode well for the future that the players know that the manager is with them, sort of thing, where they can stay in. But yeah, I think it's very good. The next up mentality, I feel like he's allowed players to have their chance and keep their place. For example, Tavares, he's played well, so he's kept Tierney out of the team, sort of, even when he's come back from injury, giving all the players, regardless of age and stature, that giving them that you can see that once you get your chance, take it so they can stay in the team, which is positive and helps us as a team for the future because when you do get an injury, which we will do, the player who comes in may have more onus to perform. And on the lineup in general, the few tweaks I would have made is maybe Lacazette for Erdogan, Tierney for Tavares, and Ainsley for Lokonga. But with how they performed that, I would have changed Laka only. Just because
well, do you know what the difference is, mate? Do you know what the difference is? This stuff works when they play well. When you're looking at a man management, it is a very brave decision to kind of include, especially in my opinion, Nuno, because I felt following that he had a great reaction to his goal, to be fair, against Liverpool. But, he did struggle in the first half, and it would have been very easy to kind of have Kieran come in straight away. But, the fact that he had faith to allow those players in, it speaks to a very brave managerial decision. He spoke about it after the game, when you have to give faith to these young players to repay you back. But that also only works when they do repay you back, from a fan perspective. And you only get credit in the bank when they do that. This idea that you have a next up mentality, it only works when your decisions to allow that kind of breathing room to repay your mistakes happens well and they actually take their opportunity, because then otherwise you start getting into messy situations like why is Ainsley not really in there as opposed to Nuno, who did have mistakes and he's trusted again. The thing with me is I don't really pay too much attention to the lineups. I felt that between Nuno and Kieran it's really, really close for me. Like Chris said, and even in the preview, I would have had Kieran and Ainsley in place of Lokonga and Tavares for myself. I definitely said Odegaard deserved a chance in this game because for me, he had bright cameos, and this was the game to offer him an opportunity to go low block. 70% possession was what I predicted. And, while Laka had a tough game, you basically give him the chance, hey, he had a tough game against Liverpool. Do you want your spot for United? And we can talk about if he claimed it or not. I don't think he did. I think he was very average in the game. But he gave him that opportunity. But the thing is with Nuno and Kieran, right? I feel that Nuno doesn't have the IQ, and he's wasted a lot of final third decisions. But that doesn't really matter with Newcastle once again, And, for me, that's probably why he chose to keep the faith in Tavares, to give him a chance, like you said, post-match, for these players who had a tough game to kind of respond. But he doesn't have to risk that with United. And I think the preview, we're really going to dominate about what we do in that game. On the Lacunga issue, I firmly believe, I was talking to the boys outside the podcast, where I have a fear that it's because Ainsley's future isn't with the club. And I think Ainsley deserves a lot of credit for really buying into what we're doing, but just fundamentally, I don't think Mikel wants to place faith in somebody that he knows is going to lead and work through that. He'll definitely play him when he deserves his chance and feels comfortable in the midfield. But I think persisting with Ainsley in midfield only happens when you know that his long-term future is at the club. Because for me, he's had better individual performances than Lacunga. But the issue is I think there's a little bit of an up in the air about whether he stays or not. And so in that case, you basically have us persisting with Lacunga because he's a asset that's here long term. I don't know if Ainsley's really past Jan or even the summer. I think the summer realistic, but as soon as January, is he even here? I don't know.
That's a good point. That's a good point because look, I remember seeing on Instagram that even though he wasn't meant to start against Liverpool, his girlfriend tweeted something. Posted something on Instagram saying that he should have started, and I don't think that really bodes well with Arteta. Like some of that stuff should be kept private, like those kind of discussions, regardless if it's your girlfriend or not. You should brief her that like, please don't tweet or post anything about me publicly. And I think that is probably why I think internally they're not going to play him and that's why I think it said a lot when Elneny came on ahead of him against Newcastle when it would have been Ainsley in the most recent times. And look, if he leaves, look, he's done well for us, but at the same time, look, I think we can get a decent amount of money for him as well.
We've toed the line well, haven't we, Z? Like, in a sense, we've been able to give him opportunities to boost his value, but at the same token, not be essential to the squad, if that makes sense. Like, you've repaired that value a lot more than what it was. So it's a positive. I mean, look, ultimately, again, I looked at Odegaard being given a chance here, and I don't think he took it. We should have a discussion about Odegaard, but he was given an opportunity to impress. Like, these are the conditions to thrive, no? Low block, 70% possession.
You know what's funny about this whole Odegaard situation? So I was at the game, and I was watching Odegaard extensively in the game, and I actually tweeted something during halftime, and I said that I think Odegaard was our best player. Now, as soon as I tweeted that, I looked at the react, and I was like, what the hell? Like, that is the most opposite reaction I could have expected because I generally thought he was having a good game. And now obviously I watched the game back at home and I realized that he couldn't keep the ball for crap. But
lost it like 6 times in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, but one thing that I noticed was his movement was really good during the game. He was actually dragging the fullbacks out of position and he created a lot of space. But maybe I was looking a bit too much into it because I remember back in the day when I used to watch Ozil, I used to watch Ozil's movement and it was pretty much the same. That his movement was like elite. But maybe I think for how much we've paid for him, yes, he should be much better on the ball. He should be losing the ball as much, and he should be at least taking a bit more risks with his passing. I think he's tried to play a bit too safe, and I think it says a lot when he still hasn't had a assist for Arsenal yet. I think that's really, it really says a lot. And I think, maybe, I don't know. I think he still needs some time, but maybe he should be out of the squad for now. Like, I can't.
Mate, I want to be consistent with my Pepe criticism that he's 23 in a couple weeks, and he's not an inexperienced youngster. This guy has been at Real Madrid. He's been on huge loans. He's had almost 5 seasons of adult football in the league. He's very much a Marcus Rashford youngster. And, if I'm going to be looking at you as, the starting 11 player, right, I have different expectations of that role than I do a squad depth player. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he's part of the squad, then I'm not this critical on him. I'm not this critical about what he could become. But, I mean, to answer Carl really respectfully, he couldn't lace prime Ozil's boots. I'm really sorry. like I think people need to realize how good Mesut Ozil was when he was breaking through at Werder Bremen at like 19, dominating the World Cup. Like, these aren't the same levels. But I don't know.
But
Yeah.
But
I can see
I
that.
generally think that I think he needs a bit more time just to physically adapt, because I think most of the time
Well, do you think that
he,
actually happens? Z? Sorry to cut you off, mate, because that has been my
mm,
biggest critique of Martin Odegaard, and people make fun of me, but he
yeah,
doesn't have the 5 yard burst. He can't overlap into out. Like he's
mm,
very specific as a player. Like, do you really
mm.
see him physically changing? Because I can tell you from
No,
a
I don't.
sprinting perspective,
No,
this guy's technique
obviously not.
is awful, and he's got chronic patellar tendinopathy, which isn't like it
Mm,
just in terms of people talking about a medical thing, it doesn't prevent him from being faster, but it doesn't help him. And when you're looking at him athletically, he's almost 23. He's at the peak of what he could do in musculature. He's not growing anymore. This is what we're going to get athletically with him. And I just worry that are you basically going to see much different athleticism with him? Probably not. Like, are you going to see more consistency with technique? Potentially. I mean, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but just factually, in almost 12 months, because we're approaching December, guys, he's almost had a year in the league. I think 18 months is very fair to say, yay or nay, will he improve in the league? And is adaptation possible? And so I'm willing to give the devil's advocate, let's wait to the end of the season. But I've honestly seen enough. I don't see him being a starting potential at all. And it's primarily to do with his physical adaptation and his consistency in contact with technique. Like the amount of times this guy loses the ball for what he has technically. Like, guys, let's make no mistake about it. He's got a wand of a left foot. He should be doing better from his control. Like, if you're that type of player that can't athletically do it, you have to be perfect technically. Like that is the sacrifice that you need to make. And I don't know, mate. I just don't think he's shown that. And it's not just playing related. He's got the same chances created as Pepe, guys. And and that for me isn't on. Especially as your main 10. I don't think his influence in the zone 14 or even in our attacking play is enough to make the concessions that you have to athletically with him in the 11.
It's the miscontrols. It's the miscontrols that annoy me the most. It's just like, come on, man, you need to be able to control the ball, trap it, and lay it off at least. That's the minimum. That's the standard. And the amount of times that this guy, I mean, I still want to give him a chance. You're right. I think 18 months is fine. I don't have the, and I'm sorry. I don't care about consecutive games. I really don't care. I've heard this from Pepe people. I've heard this from how many times? I don't care. If you're not good
It
enough to
doesn't matter when you're an
start the game.
experienced pro. That's the one caveat I'm going to make. It doesn't matter when you're an experienced
No,
pro. And
because
there's
the
a
thing is,
very big difference from his Watford cameos in his play and how aggressive he is on the ball versus these types of performances. Like to go from Watford, which was a great cameo, it was, to this. This is the problem that I've got with it, especially in a position where he's meant to thrive. Again, Curran, sorry, go for it. 70% possession, low block, at home, at the Emirates, 80% possession in the first half. Like how many more? Okay, but if this works, and if you have this scenario and you do this, and again, I'm harsh because the critique is he's meant to start. Now, if you're talking to me, is he a squad depth? Like, I think people are saying, what's your verdict? Would you give him more time? And, like, how do you see him in the squad? Well, I've mentioned it with, Chris for a while. He never was starting potential. This guy was complete squad depth. And in that scenario, for sure,
fine.
I don't mind. He's
Odegaard hasn't been creating
you know what it is? You know what it is, right? It's the fact that you have someone who is very good in killing games. He's very good at recycling the ball with
control.
Teams,
he should offer control.
He is like he is the optimal version. So if you had a 10 version of Pepe, that is what you want. Like you want.
But
like
I think he fits that role better too, right?
Yeah.
Like if we're looking as a backup to Saka and like that attacking rotation, I see it. It makes sense. In some games, can he be a 10 backup? I see that, no problem. But as long as we're talking ESR as your 10 starting consistently, and we buy a left wing, like if that's the mentality that I'm going to have, then Odegaard's amazing for £30 million, phenomenal business. At 23, I'm not that critical with it. I think we can move him on for a really decent amount of money. Like I don't critique these things as heavily, but if you're gonna dominate in possession, we're gonna get to we'll maybe talk a little bit about United. I want to save that for the preview. But when you
Yep.
look at that game, you cannot have this type of performance on or off the ball that he had, because I think I agree with Z that his movement was really, really good. But I don't know about you, mate, but like that press, it wasn't it. There were times like, I'm sitting
No.
there, I'm like, you're not passing you're not blocking. It's called shadow blocking, right? Like I think when people watch Ragnick and they look at pressing, like, what do you guys have to do? Like, what does Oba do really, really well, by the way, with goalkeepers? He bends his run so that he stops the passing lane. Exactly. Like he bends his run. And this is what we call like a shadow press or a shadow block, where you bend your run to stop the pass into the midfield. That's what he does really well. And Odegaard has to do the opposite, kind of on the right, and Oba does this on the left. That's the difference with really a 4-4-2 kind of formation. But if he's not doing that and he's not stopping that first entry into midfield, then your press is done. By the way, Laka didn't do it, to be fair, okay, in Liverpool. But that is the issue that we're seeing, in addition to the technical stuff, in addition to kind of the stuff that we've already talked about with Odegaard. But
look, the thing is, right, it's not that he can't be of use. He can be of use. But
tons of use. He's an excellent squad piece and an excellent finisher. I keep narcissistically reminding everyone of what I ask about Mikel. He is a phenomenal finisher for a game state. But the question becomes, I think the debate that we're having right now, so that the comments don't misconstrue things, is not that he's horrible and he's useless, because it doesn't go to that extreme, okay?
No.
The debate is he good enough to start for Arsenal Football Club as a starter? Do you want him as a pillar in the starting 11 now and long term? Have you seen enough to be able to allow that?
This is the perfect way of putting it, right? We all think, I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't think at some point in the next couple of years we should be competing for major trophies. Correct? Incorrect?
1 year.
All right, calm down. First of all,
I'm being honest.
I know you're not. I know you are, but the fact is,
the point is we all want to be competing for major honors.
The fact of the matter is, I do not. I don't think majority of us do. We don't see Erdogan being a starting 10 in a title-winning or a Champions League deep team. I think that's the point, and that's why we hold him to that standard. No, but that's the standard we have to hold these guys up to at this point, because we're looking at long-term projects right now. It's not as simple as saying one season from now. Well, this team is young enough that no, hell no. Hell no.
I prefer Emile Smith-Rowe.
I prefer Emile Smith-Rowe. I'll take goddamn.
But quickly though, I saw someone say that he didn't start many consecutive games. Like, he started 5 consecutive Premier games this season when he started Norwich, Burnley, Tottenham, Brighton, and Palace. So he does start consecutively. But just to reiterate, I think he'd look better on his couch at home on the bench. But like honestly, going for this season, he's gonna have to be used, because we don't really have we found this good thing with Laka, where he's done well as well. So Erdogan has been used less.
I think what speaks volumes, Chris, is that this version of Laka has kept him out of the team.
Yeah.
Like that should ultimately, and I hate the short-term correlation that people do on Twitter, but just to play ball, because some people like that. Like that still is a big point. And I think with him, we probably should get into the first half and the second half, because again we go off, but really the ultimate thing with him is things evolve with the squad, and I'm happy that he adds to the technical level. Okay. I do disagree with people thinking that Tierney is still a big pillar of this team. There's a lot of convos that we should definitely have about Kieran Tierney versus Tavares, because there's some crazy accusations that are happening. And, when Kieran returns, I guarantee you he's going to be a pillar of this squad. But increasing the quality of the squad is something I've talked about on this channel a really, really long time. The ideas that we had Kanu, Will Towards on the bench, increasing the squad quality is massive. This idea that, people that start on the bench aren't looked at as valuable is ridiculous to me. Like when we talk about Odegaard being good as squad depth and an option to kind of change game states, that's just as important for me as the players that are starting on the pitch, especially with rules changing with, 5 subs, especially with people increasing the amount of players that you can have. in the subs bench. Changing game states like this is extremely important. And, the game is becoming more and more specific. So this idea that then Odegaard becomes useless is not the thing that I think we're getting at. This has to be removed. There has to be a little bit of nuance here that despite his struggles, he is a very important use to the squad, and he's far better than, say, a Nicolas Pepe in this system or a Willian. Like a twin 10 system requires his type of player. And so in order to allow these guys to get rest, we need more of them. And, we need more of that type. In fact, I would very much imagine that in January we address that type. But that's a convo for Z.
That's a different convo. But I mean, the thing is, if you look at players like Erdogan, players like even forget Pepe, forget any players that are coming off the bench. Look, people don't realize that finishing a game is just as important as starting a game. And I don't feel like it's something that people cover a lot. It's just looking for something that they're looking for a way to just sort of misconstrue what the actual point of the squad is. If you're coming and you say to someone, look, I'm going to pay 30 million for you, and I want to see elite production from you, and they don't produce it, but when you do provide them a role that they thrive in off the bench, it's suddenly a failure. It's not a failure. It's the fact of the matter is he's still contributing. They're still contributing to the side completely. And I want to move on from Erdogan because we've spent a lot of time on him. But I want to say this: there's a lot of players in this squad that need to be moved on, and it is still the case. And people seem to have just think, okay, we're on a winning run, and everything's going great. But we still remember we've got the Kolasinacs of the world in the squad. We've got El Neni in the squad. You've got plenty of players in the squad.
Huge turnover. This team is still going to look hugely different. I think there's Z. Can you double check with this statement? But I swear there's 5 people on last 6 months of their contract this year.
I'm not sure.
Right? Because Lacazette, El Neni, Kolasinac, Chambers, and Nketiah. Right? I swear. Which is like more than I think people realize. Like there's 5 people immediately that are in the last 6 months of the contract in January that we need decisions on. But like, guys, 5 players are leaving. It's kind of mad,
And you're not even mentioning,
and that's not sales. That's not sales. Like this is happening regardless of what we do.
Even Kroenke has come out and said that he wants to take advantage of this whole
market.
COVID market that people can't spend money on, because he's got plenty of money that he wants to come and spend now. And I think Wave, who's part of our group chat, said behind closed doors in the interview, he said that even despite the fans not being on his side, he's going to make sure that they come on his side, and that's basically by spending as much money as possible.
But mate, we've said even in the summer, like our upcoming summer is the marquee window. We've explained this so many times, so I think we'll touch back on it maybe in transfers, but it was always going to be this way. And just to answer Mush's question really quickly so that we can actually get to this first half, what went wrong, what went right. Martinelli right now currently a finisher, but I've long said that by the time AFCON comes, he has very much the potential to be a big pillar of the team, and specifically Spurs. I've been very specific. Spurs, North London derby, that is going to be his big moment, and he's going to have a big second half of the season. We're going to see bubbling cameos, and he's going to be a finisher till then. But the transition of him being a pillar in this team is going to happen in the next 6 to 8 months, in my opinion. And that's a big reason for why I'm not pushing as much for a striker. But that's another day. That's another debate.
I mean, if we want to talk about this first half, I think the main point we've covered already is about the low block of Newcastle, the fact that we were wasteful in our chances from people like Tavares, and people not finishing chances. Aubameyang had a big miss. Saka almost got it was sort of like an almost half. And the main point I want to put out there is, if you look at that first half and you look at the game in total, in a totality, how do you break down a block? It's about the whole situation with trying to prize open gaps, patience. It was a bit slow. I think Mikel also said that as well. It was a bit slow, but the fact of the matter is, it wasn't like we were just sort of dead on the ball. We're just holding the ball and not doing anything with it. We were trying to make combinations, yet we were trying to make trying to give different looks, trying to get the ball into good positions, but it just wasn't clicking. And as teams wear down, these situations will eventually overwhelm, and that's what happened. It was the same as the January game at the Emirates this year in 2021, earlier from last season. And that's the point. The point is you grind teams down with low blocks, and you then, when they tire, you strike. You get 1, 2. In January, 3? Today we got 2. It's okay. That's fine. I'll take 3 points.
So I think the biggest thing is just tactically when we look at that first half. And look, guys, in the comments, we're going to limit some of the United talk. We will touch on it very, very quickly. But, guys, we got a big preview that's going to come out on United, so don't worry. I know everyone's very anxious about United, but we do got to break this game down. So, look, from the first half, right, guys, the biggest thing is I saw low block and people having troubles with the attacking efficiency of the squad. So let's break down some of the issues that we had. Firstly, we played in our 2-4-4 buildup, right? So our center backs are definitely coming up, and we've got our 2 fullbacks wide and our pivot, and we're effectively building in this box, by the way, which I think speaks a lot for the future, okay? So when we talk about these boxes in terms of the 2 center backs and the 2 kind of pivot midfielders just ahead and our fullbacks high and wide, that build-up structure is going to become a very important thing when you're thinking about where this team is meant to go, especially because I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point that our future is going much more towards that more traditional pivot or that double twin 10 role, but almost twin striker kind of thing. I don't think that we're really going to move away from that. But when we look at the game and the kind of the issues that we had, the biggest thing was our tempo and our speed from the first play. So we built out in this 2-4-4, but I think for me, unfortunately, Ben White and Gabriel, but a little bit more Ben, was slower in terms of his release, and our tempo through the first phases was very, very slow. And, I think that was because some of the movement ahead of him was a little bit more static. And I think that was really the biggest issue from our attacking kind of inefficiencies, because there was a lot of what if moments. Your Partey ball, that was from the left half space all the way out to Saka. That was in, I think, the first 5 minutes that I keep referencing. There were tons of half chances. The Emile Smith-Rowe header was excellent. Saka kind of got annoyed with how slow things were happening on the right. And, he goes off to the left, and that chance, of him taking it byline and crossing it back is just excellent work from him individually. But it came essentially from us being very, very slow in the first half build-up, not being able to get our forwards 1v1, despite them facing a low block. So that was the first issue that we had. The good thing that we had was all our second balls, and this is why White had probably his biggest game, in the first half in terms of being, in my opinion, our best first half player. He kept nicking in front and winning those second balls. So we were able to recycle possession and keep it, excellently. And, Gabriel did an awesome job on Callum Wilson. We haven't even talked about that. Like, Callum Wilson is a very underrated striker in the Premier League. He's going to cause a huge amount of problems for me. Very similar to an Antonio Test, in my opinion, of a very physical outlet that can take the ball and is technically very good. And, he had zero joy against Gabriel. And so those two, when you're building in a 2-4-4, those 2 center backs are absolutely crucial to what we were talking about kind of earlier in the pod about having the high line step up, about making sure that kind of that first little bit of space in the press is congested, right? Like, that is the big thing that I noticed, at least in this game. And so while our final action was a little bit iffy, and that came from, I think, a slow buildup at the back, not giving our forwards enough, that difference really is kind of why, we struggled a little bit in terms of being that final output. I think Oba had a really tough day, and, we'll get to him, but he was awful all game, and that miss is kind of inexcusable. It's really, really poor on him. That's just what it is. It's poor.
Right.
But I think the idea, sorry, Karen, just the O'Malley, you're making a point about the big cross-field switches. The reason that we don't see that is Kieran Tierney. If you're going to see Nuno Tavares, who's going to start wide in the build-up there, but likes to come inside, you're not going to see the big switches of play. And that we've kind of focused to have our play structured on the right. I know people don't like to see it, but that's really what has shifted by not having Kieran Tierney in the squad. When you do that, Saka's no longer going to be as touchline as he is right now. He's going to be a little bit more inside, and we're going to have the ability to push Tomiyasu a little bit farther up. By the way, guys, did you know that Tomiyasu had 37 touches in the opponent's half? The most that we've had from a right back since only once with Hector Bellerin last season. There was only one time when Bellerin and his constituents had 37 touches in the opposition half. So the biggest thing is we've spent money on the back line, and shock, the back line is one of our best things, even in build-up in terms of what it is. So there is a little bit of a quality gap right now, but also things that we can just improve with who we have on the pitch. We can be a lot quicker in terms of our first kind of phase build-up. We can up the tempo a lot more than what we're doing. And we can be a little bit more cleaner in terms of our movement, because I think we're doing okay in terms of the structure, but right now there's still a little bit of things to work out. You know, Lacazette from Liverpool last week kind of showed you that both off the ball and on the ball, you know, there's a little bit more that we need athletically. That's a quality difference when, you know, you can't burst at pace as much. But when you have Kieran Tierney kind of in the squad, it opens up the two sides of the attack a lot more, especially because we've got this Tomiyasu inverted role that he can overlap. This idea that he can't is ridiculous. He's just not asked to. There was very clear movement this game to go back to that 2-3-5 that we've seen. And, you know, it was very clear that we had Saka as the wide outlet to isolate Kraft, who was 1v1. I mean, Chris, you had that in your vlog, but it was very much a structure-based thing because we wanted to attack Lascelles. We said this in the preview. So Nuno was going to come inside finally. He wasn't going to be on the outside. So, look, once you add Kieran, you have that variety, right? Like, we can move Saka on the inside. Like, that's the switch that this system does. You know, instead of having the right touch line, you can have a left back touch line. And that switch we can change up depending on the opponents.
That draws everyone in as well. That draws everyone, kind of having Kieran left wing. And this is another thing I'm going to get into with, especially with Xhaka coming back, which he will be in the next couple of weeks. The fact that you'll have that Xhaka Kieran rotation and the ability to push Kieran up, it literally pulls the entire line to more
Higher.
Shifts to not even higher. Yes, higher as well, but it will compress it. The overload will be shifted more left, and that will allow Saka to come more inside. And what I liked about Tommy on Saturday was he was overlapping, and I haven't. This is the most I've seen him overlap. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that. I'm pretty sure
he had the most touches in the opponent's half that like a right back's had since last season.
But what I mean is that the runs he was making, it wasn't just. It was like it reminded me at times of like the overlapping runs Chambers was doing when he was at his best. He was trying to get past.
I think sometimes it wasn't even a run. It was that Erdogan would drop deeper and go touchline. So Tomiyasu just couldn't, because White had the ball.
He feels that's the rotation that we do. Like, we've talked about this rotation, right? Like, Odegaard drops into the 3, Saka moves inside, and Tomiyasu goes wide. That's the rotation that happens. And if we don't see it, it's the opposite, right? Tomiyasu stays inside, Odegaard is high, and Saka's wide. That's the positional rotation on that side. It's one of the two. And when you have Emile in that slot, it's less about essentially Saka being wide. It's more about Saka being inside. That's the difference that you get from the 10s. And that's why I'm so critical on the 10s, because I don't want Saka's touch line. He can do it. He's great, sure. But, you know, that's not something I want to see. I want him more central. I want him more inside on the pitch. But, yeah, Tommy was definitely able to step up a lot more.
Yeah,
let's move on to the second half before we do move on to United and other things. But the second half, I feel like the one thing I want to say about the second half is I tweeted at halftime. I mean, Zika, you didn't see, you were at the game. I tweeted at halftime. Look, this is the same pattern as the January game. We wore them down. Eventually, you break the block, and it happens. And you get your goal, and maybe you get a second and a third. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, yeah. But you know what it is, O'Malley? I'll tell you what, I did forget the Rams still saved the first half. But he just does it for fun now.
He's with the Ben
no,
White
he's
area.
Exaggerating. No, it can't be good. He's exaggerating.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. Like I think look, it was a great save, but like he's a great keeper. At this point, it's very similar to Ben White, where he's just having standard 8 out of 10 performances, 9 out of 10 performances, and you're like, yeah, it's a great save, but he's a great keeper. Like,
Yeah.
there's not much else to say. He's just freaking phenomenal. And by the way, his ability and build up, guys, I feel like we're repeating ourselves, but like he's the third man in that 2-4-4. A lot of people say it on Twitter, it's a 2-4-4, but really with
It's a
Ramsdale,
3-4-4.
it's a 3-4-4. That's what he gives you. He gives you that overload. But yeah, I thought we could just leave that because he's exaggerative, so he's not good.
No, he's not good at all. He's, you know what I find hilarious is no one's even, everyone's just talking about the saves.
That's how you know he's good, mate.
No one's even mentioning the distribution. Everyone's just shut up at the distribution. It's just the saves, the amazing saves.
I really hate the fact that people keep on saying that he makes camera saves. Like, who doesn't make camera saves? And the fact is, you've got to save everything that's coming at you. And
same thing they've been saying about. Sorry to cut you off, but the same thing they've been saying about Mendy recently, that he only makes camera saves. It's because the players are trying to put in the corner because they're taking shots from 30 yards. Like, where else are they gonna? Why else is it gonna look like a camera save if it's in the box? Because we barely concede shots in the box. It's just like even last game, Newcastle, it was just Shelby shooting from 30 yards.
He had a great game for them. Their best player again.
He did. But yeah, go on, Z.
No, I was just saying, like, it's standard for him, and I feel like he's also working on his weaknesses. Them low-driven shots that he kind of spills. That's something that he's working on tremendously. Like, you can see that he's a lot more focused, and like slowly, he is looking like that complete keeper that we've wanted for so long.
Look, mate, you know what the biggest thing? So I have this transition. You're gonna be happy, Kern. This rant is into the second half. Okay, so we're gonna talk about it. Look, this idea, and we talked about it at the beginning of the pod, and you mentioned it a bit, Kern. This idea that you wear teams out through sustained possession, and then in the second half they collapse, is a tactic. It is an absolute planned tactic from the coach. And this idea about looking at XG, which is just freaking ridiculous. I think, Chris, even in your vlog, you're like, from abroad, it looks like we're going to have like 3 chances for sure. And it was like 2.85 or something, on it. It comes, us being able to capitalize in spurts comes because we did all that work in the first half. You don't get those changes in the defense, especially the second, which we'll talk about the second goal, but it is horrendous defending, guys. Like, I don't know if you had a chance to watch it back.
I did.
Second goal.
Yeah.
It's really bad defending.
Like, it's
Look,
excellent.
I even have a screenshot of the line.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, mate. Like, okay, why don't we get into it because this does talk about it. There was a 10-minute period.
Look where the final. You've got a line of 4 there, and then you've got, I think it's, I can't remember who it is, but there's someone just literally at the end of the
horrendous.
line. It's just
don't,
horrible.
They don't, but I do want to stop on this screenshot because I think we should all have a little bit of things because this is going to be a Martinelli segment, guys. This is 100% going to be a Martinelli segment, but I just wanted to say before, this stuff doesn't happen if you don't have an entire half of wearing them down, moving the ball side to side, probing essentially. And even if those half chances aren't great and you didn't get your 3-0, it was always coming. And it was, because we had excellent, second ball retention. But then finally, when you look at it, the idea that this team doesn't lack in terms of chance creation is ridiculous because you do a lot of the work beforehand. You wear these teams out. And this is what we have to do a lot more often. But let's just look at this play because, there's some people saying, look where Oba is. Guys, in this system, that's where Oba needs to be. He needs to occupy that role to give Ben White an option, and that's kind of the issue that I have right now with the role because I would prefer Oba a lot higher up in between the lines at the center back. But that second option needs to drop deep so that Tomiyasu can overlap. That's really where the issue is. But guys, have a look at Martinelli. He's already made his banana run, we call that coaching, before Ben White has even passed the ball. Yeah. Joelinton is very slow to meet, Ben White, which is a stupid thing on him. And Tomiyasu is gone on the overlap, but Martinelli is already bending his run. Guys, this is a complete 9. Like, can we stop these things that, this is wing play? This right here, his movement is not wing play. This is not...
He curves his run beautifully.
It's a bended run. exactly that, what RVP was amazing at, those bending runs. That was his trademark for me.
Yeah.
Like when you look at, Van Persie, and I'm not saying that, Martinelli is a Van Persie profile. I think they're a little bit different. Not a little bit, a lot different. But this bending run is a striker's finish, guys. It's a striker's instinct, this run. And, the tracking, the composure. I don't know, Chris, if you've got other screenshots, but for me, that was the big thing I wanted to highlight here. But yeah, there you go. And so he's bended his run, and he's immediately facing, before Tomiyasu can hit the ball. Like, guys, his ability to attack space and change his body position once he's bended his run to stay on side, guys, it's world-class movement. It's world-class movement. This is what Oba was doing in his prime. And, the fact that, kind of Oba makes himself available, look where Oba's running, because Martinelli is running near post. Where does the space leave? I'll ask Chris or the panel. Like, yeah, exactly. And so it's like when people are like, where in the hell is Aubameyang? Like, he's doing that to draw the markers out. I think as fans, we need to just be a little bit careful in terms of what our critiques are and understanding why players are where they are, because positionally, this is the reason that we have Oba as an option down there so far back. I think this play speaks to why a lot of people believe he's a striker. Chris, I know we had this debate kind of outside. This is why he's a 9. Everybody, knows that me and Chris, for a while, I've had a big thread why Martinelli is clearly a striker. But this goal, guys, I don't know if you have another screenshot, mate, but like the tracking. Okay,
this was it for me. This was the last straw for me to just be like, I can't. It's undeniable.
You can't unsee that. Like, that's not wing play. Like that is finding space.
That's final third movement. That's final third central movement, and it's undeniable. You can't sit there and be like, okay, cool, this is a winger's movement. At most, it's an inside forward movement.
And guys, if Kevin De Bruyne plays that ball, people are yelling how it's world class. Tomiyasu has a lot to do because first time. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he hits that first time. It is crazy technique all around. But guys, the tracking in air. Okay, this finish here, Chris. Like, guys, do you know how ridiculous it is to track the ball over your head and shape yourself to hit that first time like he's done? Like, do you know how difficult that ability is? It screams world-class ability. Guys, that was a world-class goal that we experienced there. And that movement, okay, doesn't happen with your wing forward touchline. Okay,
that angle does not do that movement justice. I think on BT Sports they actually showed the angle from bird's eye view, and it was absolutely beautiful. Like the way he actually, came from wide and came to the inside. It was like, I don't know. I've never seen him do that. That's the thing, and this is where, like Corinne says, he probably announces himself as like that future number 9 that he can play there for sure.
Mate, you know what it is? My biggest critique now is the biggest craze on football Twitter is that a complete 9 has to be used in play because it's the only way for chance creation. And the one thing that I am just stylistically as a coach, off the ball movement destroys defensive lines far more than physical duels any day of the week. Any day of the week. It
draws defenders out of position. That's the whole point.
And you ruin lines, guys. Like, I mean, you break so many more lines when you have great off-the-ball movement. So what do we need? Like, we need enough players in the back now that Martinelli doesn't have to start at that position. If you have somebody hanging in at left back or on on an opposite angle, you can still make those banana runs. It's not that he needs to be wide to find the space. Like, the beauty that he's done right now is he's put himself in between the corridor between the center back and the full back. That can happen from any position. It doesn't have to be wide. It doesn't have to be center. That can happen anywhere. But those instincts are striker instincts. And then that tracking over the ball, like, no one's highlighting it. But look, guys, the movement's world class. But the over the ball tracking of that while he's sprinting, I don't know if anybody's played. Like, how he's watching that as he's sprinting, and then he has to change his body shape to make it on target. Guys, it's crazy. This is why I say he's Luis Suarez. How many times did we see that Luis Suarez goal? Like even at Ajax, it was just literally replicated. I did it. There you go. I needed to sneak it in. But it was just world class, guys. I don't know. The second half, I'll probably get your guys' opinion, but for me, this was what took the cake. for me. And Tomiyasu, again, I want to highlight, that's a world-class ball. He doesn't even take a touch to control that. And, Ben shuffles it out wide, Benjamin, sorry. And, Tommy just has an excellent ball kind of in that corridor, who, by the way, all game, I mentioned briefly, he was my man of the match. I don't know about you guys, but
Mine too.
just overall, technically, this is the best I've seen Tomiyasu for the last 3 or 4 game weeks. Just technically, I felt that he's been very, very loose. One of my big, I know, guys, I do it on purpose. I'll switch it for you guys. But the biggest thing I felt is Tomiyasu has struggled technically with the ball. And, this was the first time I saw him kind of return back to, his technical best. He was really, really good in build-up, and he was excellent, of course, in this goal. But I don't know. What about you guys? Like, who's your man of the match?
Yeah, so for me, it was Tommy. I feel like when you
sorry, one really quick thing. He was so good that Alan St. Maximin had to switch sides.
Switched. He ran over.
Yeah.
He was so good. I don't know if anybody noticed that in the game. I was telling Chris. I'm like,
I was laughing at that when I was saying that.
It literally was my sentence. Literally was literally took the words out of my mouth.
But mate,
When I was saying I was
so
laughing,
clear.
just
He
kept
was
coming.
he was like, screw this. I'm going right wing because I'm having zero joy against Tomiyasu.
That's 2 Emirates games in a row, by the way.
There's a couple of I'll do honourable mentions as well, because there is a couple of honourable mentions. I think Sambi had a very good game. I do think he did have a good game, because to have
his best individual performance in an Arsenal shirt.
I think was what is it, over 90% pass completion, very good progressively. Was trying to make balls into the final third. Was trying to get balls over the top for that Saka chance. I think he's very good. It was a very good performance in terms of actually his passing range, ability to control the ball, and try and control the tempo of the game. I think he played very well.
92% passing.
92% passing. Obviously Tommy was the main one, but I can't give it to Nuno because of that first half. I did as a fan, it was funny. Like I knew we were gonna
that gif. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
But like it was literally, for me, it was like I had full faith after about 25-30 minutes that we were winning 2 or 3-0. I was pretty sure that it was good, because the amount of pressure we were sustaining, even if it was slow tempo, it wasn't like I was frustrated. Never looked like a 0-0 or anything close to that.
It's annoying that Saka got injured too, guys.
And he would have been man of the match.
That was. You guys need to stop taking words out of my mouth. Like that was literally the third option I had, because like Saka, obviously, that lovely. I don't know if you. I mean, obviously you all saw it. That lovely, that feint, and then nipping between those 2 defenders for that shot. The way he hit the movement for the goal. The way he was just going past Matt Ritchie with no care in the world. He was really on it yesterday. I mean, Saturday.
Did what Chiellini did to him in the Euros, where he just went past about halfway.
Yeah.
And it would have been like through on goal, and he just dragged him.
Yeah.
But that's his world-class thing, guys. Like, that's his thing. Like, that boy can turn anybody. His half-turn ability is just
and
stupid.
movement is incredible, because like if you look just at the first half, and Karen said earlier that Erdogan, if he had improved his touch and received the ball well, Saka would have scored like 1 or 2 just in the first half alone. Correct. From the passes that he was passing from Erdogan and trying to bend his runs. But yeah, for me, Tomiyasu wins it just because he played 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Because Saka would have won it for me if he played the 90. I think White was incredible first half, but he didn't have much to do the second half. So he couldn't have been the great. No, he's not. Gabriel didn't have to do much.
No.
But his thing with Wilson,
his balls going forward, they look good. He keeps surprising me with this technical security he's showing.
But bro, we've talked about on the channel, his technical improvement is all coachables. You know,
it's very much so.
He said it himself as well.
Yeah.
But like for me, I couldn't give it to Gabriel as well, because like it was very, very evident that we were going to build through the right, and we did a lot down the right, especially first half. So
you know those stills that you, Chris, at the beginning, it shows exactly really our build up in such clear methods. You know, when Oba has the deeper role like that, it's in order to have that outlet high and wide. Like if we had Kieran, those things would switch. right? Like Oba would be the hire, and you've got that occupation, of that wide channel being Kieran. But
I really
look,
wish we scored first half though, because like if
yeah,
you look at the stats, like
it was
not even just
crazy.
the stats, but like we actually dominated them. But if you don't score a goal, like it gets shunned over. But like we had like is this 80%.
Oh wow!
But we played bad. That was the narrative. But we played bad. Like I really want to push back, and somebody in the comments, you guys let me know, like, why is it that football Twitter can't be nuanced about these things? Like everything that was happening was that the performance was
Farteta out,
poor.
bro. Farteta out, fam.
There's
That's
that.
By the way, do you know them two Newcastle shots on target are Shelby long shots from the edge of the box from like 30 yards? I mean,
yeah, the quality of their shots.
His ball striking is incredible.
Yeah, he's one of the best ball strikers in the league, Shelby. It's crazy. But look, and the corners, I think it didn't turn to like 10-2 though, like in the end too. I swear corners were.
No, it was 4.
Was it only 4? I swear I saw that there was like way more corners.
We had free kicks with.
Okay, that's what it was.
ML taking free kicks, but.
So yeah, look, I don't know. In terms of like overall reviews, I think this was phenomenal. Again,
before we go to overall reviews, get back on the stream, CK. Before we go to overall reviews, the penalty shouts.
Oh, Martinelli's was 100% a penalty, and he robbed me of my prediction of 3-0. Facts, come on.
Flattered him like he was that.
You know what? You have to respect the refs. It wasn't a penalty.
No. Don't even start that, Christina. Look, factually, the man went shoulder to head. Just factually. And people are going like, oh, it's the same as Tavares. No, that was 100% shoulder to shoulder. There was no two ways about it. Before Martinelli even kicks the ball, it's shoulder to head. It was a clear penalty in every day of the week. It was just so stupid. People on, what was it? Was it BT where they're all crying about the Odegaard free kick bullshit? And then they just don't even address the fact that he was 100% rugby clattered. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was like a WWE movie. The way I saw it, I was
got edge speared, like to the face.
I was just wondering, like, how did that not even go to VAR? Did that go to VAR on TV?
No, it didn't. No, I didn't see it. And the commentators didn't mention that it was checked by VAR.
No, that was horrific to watch.
In the stadium, I was sitting there thinking like, oh, what happened to him? Like, he's just lying there on the floor because like, I was like, Saka just came off for him. So it was like, is Pepe coming on? Because if Pepe's coming on, I think I might walk out the stadium. But like, honestly, no.
But guys, like, I don't know, man. Curran, you want to go ahead because I jumped in.
Look, the thing is, we need to talk about the other thing is about we did say we're going to do a segment on Aubameyang. I do want to just mention him briefly.
Yeah.
Look, everyone has been saying to me, every single person I've talked to, because I have been looking at strikers.
Chris, try to find the replay. There's so many online. It's so clear. I think under our blog. See if you can do it as Curran's talking.
Like, just to talk about Aubameyang, everyone and their brother and sisters asked me about what striker we signing. When you're trying to sign a striker, I mean, I've been doing these threads: Isak, Vlahovic, Osimhen, etc., etc. What striker are we signing? And I always say to them, look, guys, we have 4 strikers at the club, and I'm trying to find someone that impresses me more than those 4 strikers right now. And the fact of the matter is, either they're raw, like Isak, either that I'm not impressed with them physically, like with a Vlahovic, whether they're so goddamn expensive that it's just like, how are we going to do it in Osimhen, even with DCL a bit. And then you have like Guri, who is very, very good. I do like him a lot, but the question is, can we get him? Do we want him? I've never seen us even being linked to him. Like, guys, Aubameyang's problem right now, I feel, is, for me personally, one is form. The second is, I feel like we're not creating enough chances for him. Like, personally, I feel like it's getting to the point where we are.
I think you can't say that because, like, the things that, like, me, I've backed Aubameyang to get like big numbers in the Premier this season, but even me, I've
He
complained
still will. I
because
guarantee
yeah,
you.
he will,
He's
but
still gonna.
like, it's
He
like
will, but my
he
thing
missed the
is
pen, he missed that first touch versus
a
Watford.
pen isn't
Like,
us.
that
A pen isn't
wait,
us
I'm just
creating a
saying
chance though.
the frustration is coming from like missing the pen from the when Saka's offside goal came versus Watford. It's because
You mean
Aubameyang got
Odegaard?
the bad touch, and then versus Newcastle that was awful. Then he went 1v1 versus Newcastle as well. So there are big chances. That's just 4 clear cut for him to have 8 goals now in the league, and that's not like about service or anything. Those are like,
Two of those
Yeah.
are shots we've created though.
I don't
Two of
know,
those are
mate.
pens.
The 1v1
the
against
one was
Newcastle. I don't know about that. The
the
only one
Newcastle
I'm
one is inexcusable. Like
Yeah,
That's
I,
the
Newcastle.
one.
I said a bit earlier. It's just not excusable. The Newcastle one is just stupid. Like,
But
what do you?
do you guys not think that the chances that we create are not like for the type of striker Aubameyang is? I feel like if we had like a physical striker like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a Vlahovic, the chances we create are probably more suited to him and probably get more output. I just don't know. It feels like Aubameyang is doing a role that he's not comfortable in. He
You know
gets
what it
by
is,
in
mate?
some games. Go ahead, mate.
So you know what it is? We've turned him into a more complete 9. I know
Correct.
people don't want to hear it, but we've asked him to be a more complete 9 with this role. And what it is you're putting him outside the box more consistently. So if he's only having the 1 or 2 chances within the box, who already he was an inefficient finisher. Aubameyang was always somebody that got you 30 goals a season, but he needed 2 or 3 goals to get a goal. This was always the case with Aubameyang. So if you're going to kind of cut the chances that he's going to receive in the box, you're going to get the same inefficiency, but that's not really good for us if we're only creating 1 or 2 big in the box chances. I
Correct.
think when you look at it in terms of the crosses, that's what he did at Dortmund too, guys. Like in terms of, what was his bread and butter, it was back post crosses from Royce, Hakimi's, like that's what he thrived on. Even Ousmane Dembele and Sancho, like they formed cutbacks. That was the big reason of their chance creation for Aubameyang. So I think the big thing is he's just out of form. Like, I mean, sometimes we kind of overvalue
asking
it.
him to
For
do
me, he
too
was
much
the
for
worst.
me.
I don't know, mate. He was the worst player on the pitch. I have no excuse for the goal. It's just such poor play. But I mean, at the same token, he's our top goal scorer and he's been involved in a lot more assists and a lot more play. And he's our best pressing trigger. And I'm noticing
Yeah,
that
that's true.
his movement, even though I'm pissed at the goal, he's getting those twice a game. That for me isn't, bad. That's what I look for. Like when those start disappearing and he basically sulks around, he doesn't move, and he's not in the box, that's when I'm like, okay, shit, there's something wrong. We have an issue with Aubameyang. But if he's going to continue to press till the 80th, 90th minute, and he's still going to get big chances, I definitely think he's coming. He just needs a goal. He needs a goal bad.
My thing is, I think obviously the main thing is form. I will completely agree with you as well. My thing is that if you're going to have Aubameyang, you need to put him in the box, and I feel like we need to have more. I don't know if it's a if we're asking him to do too much, or if we're just trying to overthink our build-up patterns in terms of it, because it looks like there's a couple of motions. For example, we have the Aubameyang flick to the wing that we do a lot, and he's doing it very, very well, as well as the knockdowns on the other side. He does them very well recently. But I just feel like we just need to get him making those late box runs, getting him
But mate,
around
Current,
that
he can't do
penalty
that
area.
if he's asked to be an outlet and build up. How many times against Leicester that he's
This is
asked
the
to
problem.
drop into the middle
But
third,
the balance
okay?
isn't there,
And
though.
Ramsdale fires it to him in that spot. Like, guys, how many times have we seen that? You cannot ask the man. This is the fundamental issue with having a false 9, your striker, whoever you want it. It's not just Oba. It's going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's going to be whoever you want there that is physical. Calm. You're going to get more retention there. But he is going to be outside the box more. That's just the tactical issue when you basically add that person there. And so the issue for me is not whether or not, Oba is missing those types of chances. Okay, yeah. Just factually, guys, we can't play the replay for it. But before he strikes the ball, I don't think it gets much clearer than this on the panel. Does anybody on the panel disagree?
No,
it was
of course
kind of
not.
iffy.
It's a clear-cut pen.
But yeah, cheers for that, Christina. I would go encourage everyone to kind of go in and shoulder to shoulder on Tavares. So I don't even know what people are saying on Twitter. They're not the same challenge at all. But look, I don't want to go too heavy on this Oba thing because I really do think a lot of it's form. Like when we do critique some of these players, whether it's Kieran and his ability on crosses, or even if you look at, even like Lukunga or, Tavares, when we critique these people, a lot of it is form related to a lot of these things. I don't really question the fact that Oba is going to get 20 league goals this season. I really do believe in that statement. I still think it's going to happen. And I think it's going to be buoyed by having somebody receive in that space instead of asking Oba to constantly receive and be an outball there. Like the biggest reason why people are like, George, why do you want a War? Why do you want this? Guys, Oba doesn't have to receive in that Leicester role.
This is the thing.
Okay? And instead of him being there, a midfield is receiving it. And he can be the outlet playing off the defensive line. Like this is the implication that when you recruit another person that can function there, because Emil on his own, look, I love Laka and I love Odegaard, but they're not consistent enough, guys. They just factually aren't consistent enough ball to feet. And so Emil is the only player that's consistent ball to feet. We need two in this twin 10 system. That is what we need. And then when you do that, you're going to free the strikers. You're going to free them to basically do a lot more things and be in the box a lot more. So for me, that's really the biggest issue. I'm worried about his, composure because I think it's off form-wise. He needs a goal and he needs a goal fast. Like this isn't going to happen until he gets a goal. But I'm not worried long-term because he's still getting the chances. He's still arriving in the box and his pressing has been nonstop excellent. He's continuing to shadow block like we talked about earlier in the pod. He's continuing to do those off-the-ball things and he's still, his application, like I don't know about you guys, but is he sulking? Not for me. Like he's still doing all the good things that we need off the ball.
Which is
He's
much
working
better
very hard.
than last season, which is a thing people complain about. But like obviously the chances even though I've got pissed, like in the moment, like it's been
excellent. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen, go to
in the moment I honestly
It was amazing moment on the
in the moment I just couldn't
on the
handle it.
vlog.
You weren't the only one. Let's just say that. Like the whole stadium were fighting each other after that one.
I just walked out. I walked in because it's out. But like I just walked in after that. I just couldn't handle it. But like honestly, he needs to score them because they're the worst misses. Because I think it's missing that is like bad. Like it's like what's his name? A Werner type miss.
Yeah.
Like on the same level. Like that is bad. But like he's been getting like the easiest chances to get a goal. Like a penalty, like the keeper is next to you and you're like a bit ahead of him receiving the ball. Like it's just your first touch and the goal's empty. Like these are two of the biggest chances that you can just get and score, and he's missing them, which is negative for him. I'm sure he will get to the target I set for him at the end of the season.
You set for him. It's like when you look at it, if Saka's going to be the second twin, which he 100% can, it's what I want. But guys, you can't have your inverted right back, or you need that other attacking midfielder, which again Emil can't do. Like you need your 10 to overlap and be in the wide option. That is exactly why I want an attacking right back, because I want Saka more inside constantly. Like this is the issue with it. When you have that wide channel being your fullbacks or one of the 10s, that's the implication. But yeah, I don't know, mate. Like Z, like what do you think about this in general? I know you're not as high on maybe me and Chris on Oba and maybe even Curran, who I think
I'm fine. I'm fine with Oba, but I'm just thinking. My thing is, and we'll get to Z, but my thing is, I feel like we're trying to find a balance with him. I feel like we're doing a lot with him, and I do feel like I need to see more in the box with him. And I feel like obviously, as I mentioned, this is like the fourth time actually. He's obviously in horrible form right now. So
my issue is asking the striker guys to do midfielder things and thinking buying a striker that can do that is gonna fix the problem, but you're not addressing the real issue. The midfield is the issue.
Yes,
so fix the damn midfield. Drop deep.
Fix the damn midfield so that he doesn't have to drop as deep.
And
facts.
The other thing I'm going to mention, there's two things that need to be mentioned. Is one is Xhaka improves a lot.
Yeah.
Just in terms of final third balls, the
And I
ability to
back up
fireball.
Yo-Yo, by the way, with this.
Same.
It's so true, but he has been frustrating, and I want to call a spade a spade.
But the thing is, one is about Xhaka, because we forget Xhaka actually made the most final third passes in the league last season with
Yeah.
268.
Yeah.
Like he was clear. Like Rodri had like 30 less with him.
You mean that our first choice pivot would help our attack? No, Curran,
Pretty
you can't do
much.
that. That's logic. No, you can't do that. No, we're not allowed to do that here.
No, but it's not even about the pivot. It's about the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is, when your pivot members is the best at passing into the final third, and that means you can actually transition with speed.
No, because then the defense isn't going to affect our attack, Curran. We cannot do that here. We don't do logic, okay? So no facts. We don't do that.
And then Partey the year before had the highest dribbles for midfield in Europe.
Yep.
Exactly. So
But shock. Oh my God, our attacking inefficiency isn't clicking when our best pivot is out.
This isn't a good George.
No, I'm tired of it because I'm tired of just the stupid arguments that I see on here, and it's just people pissing me off at the same token. Like, I get that, things aren't great, but, it's easy to fix, guys. Up the
Things
tempo
are-
in the first to build up. Let's get our freaking pivot back so we can step up on the damn pitch. And let's
It's
get
not
somebody that can receive in that zone instead of asking our freaking striker to do midfield things, receive on the half turn, and open up play. Like, it's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's very, very different to what the top teams are doing, by the way. Name me a striker that in the top squads are doing this right now. And by the way, it's not Firmino. Firmino doesn't do that. Firmino does stuff very, very different in the final third than receiving in the middle third. Okay? He's not receiving in center mid. Okay? It's very, very
Antonio is the reference that I hear a lot. Antonio is he the reference? But on West Ham, we're going to be above him in 2 games.
look,
Just
forget West Ham. The second thing
that's-
is, the second thing is that, as George just mentioned, we're having Aubameyang drop deep, and my thing is if you're going to do that, you need to have either an outlet that runs past consistently, so a Sterling, an Hour, someone of that mold who, if you're going to have him run past, you need to have someone to get in the box and finish those shots, those knockdowns.
So you're saying if you get a new striker, we need someone else to play 10?
because there's an issue with the people that we have. Look, I think we've done enough on here. I want to get to reviews. I don't know, Z mate. Like, I wanted to give you a chance because I know you're not as high on Oba as like the rest of us, and especially in preseason. What's your stance on it essentially before we do?
I mean, look, I think Corin's already touched on it. I think we're trying to give Aubameyang a role where he's not the most suitable. And to be fair, like, props to him that he's actually I think he's improved since last season, where he's doing a lot more, like in terms of coming into midfield and having the flicks to the wing and all of that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I fundamentally think that if we had a centre forward that can do that and has been doing that, that makes our play a lot more fluid and and I feel like the chances we create will probably be a bit more efficient. Like, we'll probably score a lot more goals, and I just feel like this system is probably not the best suited for a player like Aubameyang. Someone like Aubameyang should be the player that gets a pass from over the top. But we don't really pass from over the top. We usually try and pass through the wings and like with cutbacks, and that's something that Aubameyang, I don't know, he's not even making those runs anymore. I just don't know. It just seems like we're misusing him, and I feel like the system is not going to be the one for him. And so this is why we probably have to move away from the kind of striker that we have right now, and ideally look for like a profile like a Vlahovic, an Isaac, and a Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I've seen shots of Ivan Toney, and I see why people want Ivan Toney, but again, I kind of worry about the number of goals he scores. I know he's playing a lot deeper for Brentford this season, but again, is he able to replicate those numbers for Arsenal that he had in the Championship in the Premier League? I don't know. I really doubt that.
Mate, let's work on getting our team higher up the pitch. That's literally the only issue.
It's the midfield is the big issue.
This is the thing. This is what vexes me so much. It's not about the strikers, guys. We have. Okay, let's do this. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Alexander Lacazette, Folarin Balogun,
He's the worst.
Gabriel Martinelli, Tyrese
Mika
John-Jules,
Bareth. You might as well throw him in because that's what
Mika
people
Bareth.
love. The 6'2",
Thomas,
9,
Yeah.
whatever.
The 6'2" powerhouse with great ball
Mika
striking.
Bareth, even
Mola.
Muller.
Mola, exactly.
U18s,
Like, we
you
have
want to go down to
Keep going
U18s?
younger. Amani Richards,
Keon
Amani
Edwards.
Richards.
It's
Like, we have a ridiculous amount of strikers on the book.
the
Ridiculous.
best pool of strikers on this planet.
And the fact of
Yeah,
the matter is getting a Alexander Isak, who is very good at taking the ball from deep and running at players. Very good. But the fact of the matter is, he is not someone that is going to be getting you 25, 30 goals in this league. He's just too raw right now. And the same goes with Vlahovic.
Exactly.
He hasn't got the physical qualities that are going to succeed in this league. He's improving year on year. This year he's doing much better. The things like his passing range is improving. He's dropping deep. He's actually trying to affect play more, and he's still deadly in the box. His goal numbers are up this year, and great for him. But 70 million. No. We need midfielders. Man City have goddamn Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Sterling,
Odin.
Foden. You know what I mean? Like,
We've got Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, and Odegaard.
That's
Talk
what
to
we
me.
need.
Talk to me, people.
Come on, man. Like,
We-
it's mad.
We said this in the summer that like we need a massive number of playmakers. We need a massive number of midfielders, and we don't have that. Arsene Wenger did that in his time. He filled his team with midfielders.
Creative midfielders. He's packed
Creative
them.
Not even
Like,
just that, but when people like propose strikers, especially young ones, it annoys me because like I've said this in group chats on the timeline about like in this league, we have the second best young striker that you can produce in Balogun, and the only one better than him is Martinelli. So young strikers is not what we need. Like if you're gonna propose a Dominic Calvin, for example, someone who's like 27, I believe, like someone like that, even though I wouldn't want it.
Calvert-Lewin's really young. He's 24, but I think
What?
Yeah.
Forget.
Calvert-Lewin's 24.
But the point is, forget
Calvert-Lewin?
strikers.
I thought he was 28.
No, bro. He's like 24.
He's 24, yeah. But the point is, that I'm going to reiterate this again.
Yeah, bro. Check it.
Midfield output.
He's 23 right now. He's going to be 24.
Goal output outside your main
He's
striker
24
is
right
the
now.
issue.
He looks old.
Every team has goals from midfield. We just aren't competing on that level right now.
We just
don't.
Actually, no, lies. We do with Emile Smith-Rowe.
Emile.
Because, he's the only one. But like, yeah, no. Let's fix the midfield. Okay, let's add the midfield control, guys. I tweeted something out, and we should probably go on the review because we have been going long. But look, I tweeted something out where the most exciting thing for 2022 is basically seeing Arteta's preferred attacking philosophy, because to date, we've only seen him work with what he's had. He hasn't made a recruitment in attack, and so there's tons of questions that we have. We all have an idea about what we want, both in the comments, abroad, on Twitter. And, I have ideas about what I think Mikel wants, but no one really knows. We just haven't had a purchase to guide that. In midfield, we've had one. We know what he values, Thomas Partey. Defense, we have tons of stuff. We just don't have a sample about what he really prefers in an attacking setup. And here are some questions just from food for thought for people to think about. With an extra player in attack, does that basically open when you got more central control, progression, midfield? Can we attack with more people? Like everyone keeps saying 5 people is the max. Do we need only 5 people? Can we attack with 6 when you have more of a midfield? I don't know. That's a question that you 100% can, but that's a question that we can ask. Do we need a link type of striker or an off the ball mover? There are different ways that you can organize, a front three, and they're all valid. I've seen them all work, but fundamentally we just don't know the preferred setup. It's very tough to guess what Mikel would do. But the biggest thing that I can say is we've really controlled our second balls. But let's control the midfield security now. That's something that we have not done. And adding a striker who is a striker, and to do that role is very, very backwards thinking to me. And it shouldn't be the case. You fix the midfield with more progression. Facts.
Look, let's just be real here.
226, Carl. Yeah, I don't. Who told you that? I don't know.
You definitely made George smile inside when he
Look,
saw that.
forget. I'm sorry. I'm just. I need to reiterate this. Look, there are two reasons. One is obviously goal output, but the other thing
We
is
already build, by the way, in the box. So for everyone saying that we can't do that 226, that's literally what we do now in our build up. Just as
pretty much. But the main thing is if you look at how we're actually sustaining pressure. Do you know what you need to sustain pressure? You need 1v1 dual monsters that are able to win the ball back in transition easier. And you know how you do that? With better quality midfielders. It's
I
not
think just
hard.
to tie it up too, like Curran, Z, you could probably just confirm this, mate. But like Shaka's going, like that door to the midfield, like that's gonna happen in the next. And for me, that is the biggest
We need
revolution.
Keys.
Yeah, like
it's just for me, it's the next step we take. So obviously, someone like Xhaka obviously helps that transition, but it's the next signing that helps us take the next step. And ultimately,
and he's leaving 100%. Like
100%,
like that was the whole point of the extension, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's only a 1-year extension, isn't it?
Yeah, so that he has 2 years on his deal, so that we get a decent amount of money, right? Z, it's 2 years, no?
Yeah. So there was a gentleman's agreement when the signing was made. I know people are saying that he's gonna. People want to see him play for a lot longer for Arsenal, but I don't think that's happening. I think this is his last season, and he's essentially helping Arteta and Arsenal
bridge.
Champions League football.
Just buy some time to find the ultimate midfielder, and I think maybe this January we probably might see 1 or 2 midfielders coming. I have a feeling we will. Because
need it, man.
I know which two I'd like.
Need 2. I'll be real. Like one is essential, but 2 would be done. Forget anyone else. And this is a good point because we need to talk about them briefly, just as a preview for our preview. United offered nothing at the weekend.
Let Z go first.
Yeah, go on. You go first because apparently we're drawing Z. Come on. What are we drawing?
I'm just trying to jinx it so we win, isn't it?
No.
You're just a flop. That's
No,
what it is.
no, I'm not a flop because I said this to CK that if I predicted a loss against Liverpool, I'm sure we would have beaten them. That's the thing. I said that because I don't want to go into that game feeling confident. Because look, I watched the United game yesterday, and I literally said they offered nothing. And the fact is, they're going to play at home. They're going to try and try and take the first step on the pitch. And you know what? If we let them dictate play, I think it's game over. I think we'll actually do something to them. But the fact is, I'm just going to stay humble, and I want to see us.
No, I'm not humble. We're moving them. There are some issues that's going to happen. What's going to happen? They're going to be touched more than at a blank. All right, and right now the issue I want to stave a little bit because there's a lot of preview that's going to happen. But if we had Rangnick in charge, it would have been even worse. I'm telling you right now. Don't freaking realize it. If Rangnick was in charge, the level of spanking that we're gonna do, literally put them on their backside and spank them like a 5-year-old for having the wrong thing done. It's gonna be worse. So,
I'm gonna say this right now. If you have not tuned in to a Ball of a Passion live stream in a while, there is one live stream, or 2 actually, that are critical. Spurs and United. Because me and George, we are relentless.
4.
Okay.
The preview and the review to the games.
Yeah. The review as well. The review
was kind of mad. I was.
They say themselves because I'm the same all year round with the.
Yeah.
We finally get up to Chris's level of optimism.
Shamelessness.
Yeah. I feel like what I've been saying it for.
May, wasn't it?
Yeah. Since the thing came out that Ronaldo December 3rd is going to be. Shit show on the timeline.
Bro, I've got that. I've got your tweet bookmarked.
Bro.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know what's amazing? Fucking Roy Keane, the idiot, the stupid Irish gypsy, put so much pressure about Ronaldo not starting. The fucking idiot is gonna have to start Ronaldo. Do you know that now?
That makes it worse because you can't keep compact at all.
You can't, and he made it a freaking thing, and they played horrifically.
They all do. That's the worst thing. United. I feel sorry for them. Like all the legends that have come out under Fergie,
You know what it is.
they do too much for them.
I
None of them are good coaches.
No,
and
bro,
all of
I
them,
love
like,
it.
support
I love
Ronaldo.
it. We've got Ferdinand, the idiot. Oh my God, did you guys see the 5 Live clip?
Yes, of course I did. I quote tweeted, of course.
With
So
and then he says to Carragher, you can't talk about winning leagues because you never won one. And Carragher told him, you never won anything without Fergie.
literally.
You know what it is?
Fergie,
I'll tell
bro.
you what it is. Right?
They like, I saw a tweet. It was dark humor, but they said Ralph Rangnick, when he sees Fergie and he tries to tell him you have to start Ronaldo, and he kicks his wheelchair down the stairs. And I thought that would be the best thing to happen to that club.
Facts. No, you know what it is, mate. Like, I don't want to talk too much on United. I do want to end on a review for Newcastle because we're taking away from the preview. But you guys in the comments have really wanted the United talk. So, look, at the end of the day, it's going to be bad. The only thing I'm going to tell you right now is the level of how much of a spanking it's going to be. Whether it's just a slap on the wrist or like a true bottom ass.
I'm gonna let you guys be
clap
confident
because you know
That's
what?
it is.
No. Z, I'm
my last thing on United before George goes is that my boy
all I'm gonna say is
my boy Sancho has 2-2. Don't jack him. That's what I'm going to say. That's 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, I respect Ronaldo. I think he's one of the greatest players to ever play in the Premier League. But right now he's 36-year-old and refuses to press. So no, I don't care.
He finished 6th in the Ballon d'Or.
Exactly.
Should have finished like
Chat
15th.
to me. Should have finished like 15th at most. People try to go.
Man's gonna have more. No, look, United are gonna have more holes than a sponge. Just factually, like when you look at it, it's just madness. And I hope Ragnick comes in because Harry Maguire
like
isolated with.
We're gonna have to do like a big.
Dear God, it's gonna.
We're gonna have to do a big video on him because obviously it's a massive change.
We're gonna have to make a wake for Harry Maguire. In fact, there's gonna be a period where
need Lacazette to play. Man.
Yeah, bro. Like people are gonna have
they're gonna have like a massive presentation for Ole as well in that game.
And you know what it is? You know what it is? The fact
are they actually at Old Trafford?
Yeah, so
if they pull something off, you can
put on the picture, Chris.
You can do as you will.
We'll have our presentation as well.
Yeah, honest to God.
Anyway, get the table up.
That's my boy.
Get the table up, Chris, before we go.
Oh, the prediction table.
Yeah.
This is what I believe.
It looks so beautiful, but we're gonna extend the lead so we keep going.
You're not extending no lead.
Yeah, we're gonna probably next. Yeah, this next one it's gonna be pretty even. We all know what's gonna happen, so we'll just be status quo. But look, I do want to end on the review because look, we had some jokes, but guys, please come for the preview. I think we're gonna do it Friday, lads. Preview.
You can't do the preview Friday.
Thursday. Jesus.
The game is on Thursday.
Wednesday. No,
Wednesday.
We can do Wednesday. Yeah, we can do Wednesday. So it'll come out on Wednesday, but
review will probably be Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, and then look, in terms of just the game in general, I think the biggest thing that I wanted people to take away from this is our second ball control. I think that's going to be the theme for how we close out this season. It's going to be the reason that really, despite maybe some differences in the press, because we don't have the attacking players or quality right now, we haven't changed it. So people expecting it to be perfect or even really, really good without training wheel kind of screw ups are really kidding themselves. Okay,
just 1 second, George.
Didn't who draw at Stamford Bridge?
Did you see
they just lost 4-1 to Watford. What are you talking about?
Did you guys see the game?
They got pantsed. They offered nothing at the bridge.
Jorginho and Mendy gave them the balls.
Exactly.
Literally, here you go.
Yourselves.
Great finish from Sancho, by the way. Great anticipation and finish from Sancho.
Oh yeah.
Can't take that away from
the only thing I want them to do well is I would not mind like 3-1, but Sancho get the goal. Like
allow it. We can't have the Sancho goal.
It's going to be Rashford.
We can't get Sancho's first home goal.
Rashford needs money for his charity.
I need also ruined.
What's that award that he won for you guys?
Who?
Didn't he win like a personality award, Rashford? Like a Britain's biggest charity or whatever the hell he
won an award this year. He did.
Some weird shit. He needs
sports personality of the year.
Yeah, he needs money for his charity, so he's going to be like, my consolation goal is not enough, my guys. I'm so sorry, but donate to this cause, and we're going to come back next year for a big one. Anyways, like I just wanted to say this: the review right now, the second balls for us and that control in off the ball is going to be huge. That's going to be a theme of ours for this entirety of the season. And despite us not having the personnel or the turnover that we've had in defense, the reason this was so important from a recruitment standpoint is not just build up. It's not just starting the first phase. But yeah, that second ball control has been huge. It's been the biggest difference that we've noticed. And when you add Granit Xhaka, I hope people have the same energy for the attacking inefficiencies. And by the way, Granit isn't the end-all, be-all. That's what's funny about
never have the same energy.
thing about this situation. So
Yeah,
I think
you
we're
get
going
better.
to see.
Bro, we've gone from we've spent 130 million on flops to if we get outside,
we need
of
top four. It's going to be ridiculous if you don't have top four.
You know, United could just last thing on United. You know they could be 13th.
Yeah,
if they lose.
It's going to be so peak. It's going to be so peak. Relegation candidate Arsenal's, against the title challenging United.
Challenges.
Yep, relegation threat in Arsenal.
Hey, Poncho, right now I'm taking all the heat. This is George
mind.
United. Don't worry, big boy. I am fine. I'm here.
Trust me.
Hit me, as they say.
Poncho,
I'm ready for it. It's
Poncho,
fine.
they've been saying this. They've been saying to us, we're blaming you if we start losing this stuff. Like,
can you guys blame us for top four then? Because we've been shouting that tune since preseason. So
I got killed.
Also, blame us for Ramsdale as well.
And this United fault. Yeah.
I
Blame us for
Ramsdale on
Ramsdale.
my own account because I got killed for the top four predictions. But
people call me sick. People call me sick in the head for saying top four. Sick in the head.
I tweeted on my personal account, so it wasn't on the board of a personal account. So all the comments are just there, killing me.
Anyways, sorry, Hardy. Look, mate, we'll answer your questions on personnel on the preview. I think we've done a lot. We did a lot of jokes, but the preview will come with the tactical analysis with a lot of front too as well. But look, guys, awesome review. Thanks so much. Again, we want you guys to comment so that we can improve this a little bit more. So make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications to make sure when we upload. And you can catch us at BotFooty on Twitter. Of course, we got our TikTok running. But guys, big week. We have a lot of schedules coming in. Okay, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of, Carl, facts. Anyways, we've got a lot of content coming up. Okay, we got previews. The games are going to come thick and fast. So just keep your eyes peeled for the channel. And, you can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. And of course, Zed, where can they find you?
Private Arsenal _Z.
And Christina, where can they find you?
Sharp and Pure CKK on Twitter. And thank you for 400 followers on BOP Footy.
Oh, yeah, mad, bro. It seems like we've doubled even on that. So thanks so much for the support. It's mad humbling. But Curran, mate, where can they find you?
At Curran BOP. Everything I post will be there anyway. So even if it is like writing stuff that I've started to do as well. So let's keep it going, lads. Road to 1K continues. Hopefully, really hoping by the end of the year would be super cool. But if not, January, we'll see. Everyone, thank you in the comments as well. It's been really cool seeing people interact with the video, especially live and afterwards, even from different areas of the world. We've got people in China, people in everywhere, all around the world. So really appreciate all the support as well. So
guys, look, honestly, the one thing I did want to end on, the reason we need 1K is so I can get out of my storage closet because they keep forcing me down there. And this is the big reason so I can upgrade my background. But no, in all honesty, thanks so much for the support, guys. And we're going to catch you probably on Wednesday, roughly around 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We'll give you guys a shout on the promos. So follow at BotFooty. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on Wednesday for the United preview. All right. Cheers, boys.
Peace.